once this happens, oh, good, it worked. I was going to say, once it happens, it doesn't usually go live, but it did. Okay, I'm live on YouTube and Facebook. I didn't do a live yesterday. My hair's a little goofy. I didn't do a live yesterday. My back went out, so I was just bedridden yesterday. Better today. Couldn't go to the gym, though. For me not to go to the gym, it's a big deal. So anyway, all I've been doing is nursing a sore back. Okay, so just waiting for everyone to turn up. While we're waiting, I'd love to know where you're from. Where are you from? I'm here in Vancouver, Canada. What's it like out? Looks like it could rain. So where are you from? It was funny just earlier. There was, she looked about 5 or 6 years old, little girl having a massive tantrum out front. And her parents just left her there and said, fine, we're going without you. So, yeah, she got up and ran. Okay. Hi, Lisa. Everything going great here with kiddo. Oh, excellent. Excellent. Samaya. You were in that group coaching, pretty sure. Samaya. Good for you. You know, I just give advice. You're the ones who do the work. So pat yourselves on the back if everything's going great. But yeah, when that kid was having that tantrum out front, I went out in my balcony and just watched because I'm like watching the parents. What are you going to do? Yeah, she just got left behind and ended up running after her parents. So good for them. Davie, Florida. I've never heard of Davie, Florida. Davie, Florida. Okay. Just wanted to give you follow-up. Oh, okay. Excellent. Well, I'm really happy to hear that because, you know, it doesn't just end when I'm coaching people, it doesn't just end. Or when you do a course, it doesn't just end. You got to keep working on it. Eventually things will get easier, but you got to keep it up. It's like a lot of things in life. You know, you learn how to do something, but then you got to get into the rhythm and make it a habit. That's when all the results really start to happen. Okay, so let's get going with your parenting questions. My name is Lisa. I'm a parenting coach. If you go in the link above, or if you're on YouTube, you can look in the description and you'll see my link. And that link will lead you to all my courses, which are my free behavior board. And I said all my courses. So my free behavior board, my mini toddler courses, my big boot camp course, that's from 3 to 12 years old, or you can look into coaching with me. I do have a wait list for coaching. I haven't been able to take new people on. I think I took someone on Monday or Tuesday. I can't remember which day, but yeah, it's just been a busy week. So anyway, that's it. So I'm just going to wait for your parenting questions. Oh, I'm going to tell you something cute. Yesterday I had a client, and I always talk about finding your inner toddler, your inner silly, or even just with older kids. Like, oh, they love silly stuff. So do I, though. That's why I think I'm kind of relate really well to kids. But I love silly stuff. So when this kid's kind of grumbly or whatever, the mom just looked up silly things to do with kids. And she found the foot phone. So this kid was sort of acting up, and she just grabbed this kid's foot and started answering a phone call on the kid's foot. I love stuff like that. Kids love this stuff. So do I, actually. If someone answered my foot, I would laugh. So I just love stuff like that. It was so cute. She had a whole bunch of ideas too. That was the one that stuck out. Really cute. So just look up goofy things to do with kids, and it's sort of. It's a connecting thing, and they connect in silly in their world, not in your world. So yeah, I love silly stuff. Okay, so I'm just waiting for your questions. Maine, USA, Maine. I never know where Maine is. Every time someone says they're from Maine, I have to look it up, and I go, right. It's near New York, right? But I never know exactly where it is. I don't know why. Keep forgetting. I think because I always had it in my mind that it was somewhere different. I always thought it was more down by Florida. I always thought Washington, D.C. was down by Florida, too. It's not. Okay, any suggestions on how to deal with a 2-year-old toddler throwing a complete tantrum when leaving her grandparents? Also, okay, well, I'll just deal with one thing at a time. So tantrums, check out my tantrum busting course. It's a mini course on how you do it. Basically, you just ignore the tantrum. You physically restrain them if they get physical, but other than that, you don't look at them or talk to them. And you want to sort of look like this, like you're filing your nails, but you don't go on your phone, or you don't, I always go reach for my phone. I'm filming on it. I just reached for my phone. Anyway, so you don't go on your phone and you don't get into a conversation. I think that's kind of rude when they're having a tantrum. You look like you're waiting. Look like you're waiting for that to stop. You want them to know that you know they're having a tantrum, but this is how you're reacting. Like you're just waiting. As soon as they're done, oh, you all done? Okay, let's get going. But if you're trying to get somewhere, you might have to pick them up, cart them under your arm, and just put them in a car seat, kicking and screaming. Yeah, it's ugly, but it's how you do it. If you give any attention to a tantrum, good luck with that. It's just going to feed it. Any attention is tantrum food. You're fertilizing it if you give them attention. Stockholm, excellent. Stockholm. That's Sweden, right? I get all my Nordic country. I'm actually half Norwegian, but I still get them all mixed up. Okay. Well, no, I'm not half Norwegian. I'm half Australian and half Canadian, but my what do they call that, DNA or whatever they do, that 23andMe stuff? I'm evidently Norwegian and French. Vancouver. Hi, Melissa. I can tell when someone recognizes me, and it happens a lot. And but most people don't come up and talk to me unless I'm passing right by. But even then, they don't. It's really funny this is how I can tell someone's recognized me from here or online. It's usually a mom pushing a little stroller, and she'll go like this. She'll go, and then she'll look down, then she'll look back again. I'm like, oh, geez. I really would rather you just come up and say hi. It's almost kind of like, what, have I got a booger hanging out of my nose or something? Yes, that's what I think. Okay. How would you handle a child? Oh, I don't know the age. You need to put down the age. Yeah, I need an age. 10-year-old daughter, super angry almost all the time. My 7-year-old daughter picks on her and they fight 99% of the time. Okay. God, you're going to hate my answer. I just wrote it down this morning. I don't talk about this a lot, but it's true. Kids rarely fight when they have a leader as a parent. They fight usually as a result of a feeling of injustice or unfairness or favoritism. When you're a leader, you're just, you're fair, you don't have favorites. So they rarely fight when they have a leader because they trust you to take care of business. So yeah, work on your leadership skills. I end up saying that with everything, but it is everything. Your leadership skills take care of everything. So work on your leadership skills first. That's your first priority. It's always you. You know, everyone wants to know how to fix their kids. They're just a reflection of your parenting. You got to fix your parenting, not the kids. The kids will reflect your parenting. Does that make sense? So yeah, when they have a leader, they don't fight. Why would they? They have no reason to fight because there's no injustices, because you know how to take care of business. You know how to monitor situations and know who's pushing whose buttons, and you just get it. So yeah, work on your leadership skills. You might want to check out the boot camp course. It's all about you and your leadership skills. But yeah, it's the kids' behavior is just a direct reflection of the parenting. Okay, between the ages of 3 and 12. Under 3, they're just nuts anyway. They're just forming, and then 13 plus, they're sort of forming their own leadership. And you're just there for the big stuff. You want them to learn how to make mistakes and be accountable for them. But there's no shame in any of this stuff. If your kids feel shame while you're disciplining them, you're doing it wrong. Leaders don't shame children. Leaders just say, oh, well, you messed up there. Okay, here's a consequence, right? It's kind of like when you get pulled over for speeding. The cop doesn't shame you. He just says, oh, did you know why I pulled you over? Or something like that. And then he says, okay, so I'm going to have to give you a ticket today. Then he says, okay, drive carefully. Have a nice day. You know, there's no shaming. There's no, why would you do that? What an idiot. You know, there's none of that. And they're trained not to shame. They're trained to be positive when they pull someone over, evidently. 4-year-old, when breaks the rule and gets consequence, starts throwing, slamming doors, etc. Okay, so in other words, when you discipline a 4-year-old and then they get violent because you're disciplining them, you just try and physically restrain them. You don't discipline the violence because you're already disciplining them. Okay, so a lot of them do that. Past the age of 4, they only do what works. That says that it must have worked in the past. You must be afraid of them. So yeah, I would just physically restrain them just for a minute or so and then let go. If they start up again, you hold them again. There's a whole bunch of other stuff I could add to that, but I'm just going to keep it simple and keep it there. Okay. So, yeah, just follow through with the discipline. Don't let their outburst have any effect in how you parent. You know, I know whenever I say this to parents when I'm coaching, they never look too thrilled with this, but I always say you got to learn how to embrace the fit scenes, meltdowns, and tantrums. Those are where all the lessons are. That's your opportunity to exercise your leadership. Like if a kid's going to have a fit around me, if I'm looking after a kid or something, I smirk. It's like, okay. So yeah, they'll find out pretty quick. I know what I'm doing. That's your opportunity. That's them. That's their challenge to you. So yeah, it's hard though. When you're learning how to do this, it's tricky. I get it. Your gut reaction is to react, but you want to act instead of react. Big difference. Leaders don't react. And when you react, they're in charge and they know it. They just pick up on that energy. It's like that 8-year-old kid that I'd never met before and I was going to work with him. And they warned me, they said, he's a real challenge. Anyway, he was 8 years old and we were introduced and he said, if you don't give me what I want, I'm going to have a fit. And he said it just like that. And I said, bring it on. And I just stared him down and he never did. It was like, oh, she knows what she's doing. So yeah, they don't actually want to be naughty. It's just their way of challenging you, but they don't challenge a leader. They understand that you know what you're doing. Okay, I think I'm following the rules kind of person, but my 7-year-old daughter seems to have trouble on this at school, following when not sitting, you have to bring toys at school. So consequences happen and done. But okay, so in other words, you think you're following, okay, you think that you're a leader at home, but at school things aren't going well. She's 7, you're not a leader. Children who have a leader are under that umbrella no matter where they go. Past the age of 3 and 9 months to 4 years old. They carry your leadership everywhere. They would be horrified if they thought you were going to find out that they were doing something rotten. They would be embarrassed because they look up to you. They want to please you at that age. It's very normal. So yeah, work on your leadership skills. It's the same thing. But plus, if she's really acting out at school, yeah, you just got to up your leadership skills. That's what I'm just reading through that again. Look at the boot camp course. It's in the link above. It might be a good fit for you. At the very least, just check out the behavior board. That's completely free. Okay. And a lot of it, parents will say to me, I've been doing this on my own, or sometimes people will actually get the course and then they'll say, it just didn't work. So they'll hire me. And then there's just something they're missing. There's something, and it's something that's so obvious to me, but they would never in a million years have figured it out. So if you think I'm almost wondering if you're trying to manipulate situations to make sure she doesn't act out. Are you trying to avoid scenes? A lot of parents feel they're following the rules, but they're trying to avoid scenes. Well, I know that upsets her, so I won't do it. I would do it anyway. If you know you should be doing something and you're not doing it because you know it might upset her, is that it? Are you trying to please her? Are you trying to avoid a scene? That's not a leader. Yeah. So that could be it. That's just a bit of I'm guessing. I've been doing this for a long time. I always think my guesses are pretty good, but I'm sure some of them are wrong. So that could be wrong. I'm not 100% sure about that guess, but I'm just guessing. Well, this isn't a question. A 2.5-year-old won't sleep past 5:30. Well, are you putting them to bed too early? Do they have too many naps during the day? I don't know. 4-year-old boy, tantrum includes screaming, crying for a hug after he's done calling me dumb and trying to throw. Okay, how do I react to the demand for a hug to make him feel better? So, okay, 4-year-old boy tantrums include screaming, crying for a hug. It's not a love hug. It's a validate what I'm going through. It's, can I control you to make you do what I want? And he figures if he asks for love, you're not going to say no. If a kid was having a tantrum and asked for a hug for me, I'd peel him off me. There's just no way he'd get a hug. No way. It's not a love hug. It's a, can I control you kind of hug? You're ignoring everything, but the request for love. You see, it's not love he's after, it's control. So yeah, he'll be fine. He'll survive. But yeah, and then even afterwards, parents say, should I hug them after? No, you can just go, you're all right. Okay, let's go read a book. Because you're almost looking guilty. It's okay, you're a good boy. It's almost like there's been some injustice done to him. So yeah, after the tantrum, I don't even hug. I just go, you're all right. Okay, let's read a book. Okay. So, but I don't go overboard with the consoling as if it was that big a deal. I'm just kind of ignore the whole scene. You ignore the crazy and reward the calm. But even that, he's just had the tantrum. I wouldn't do any big hugs then. Nope. Nope. Need a bit of space. Yeah, I don't know what's going on with that birdie. Like Bridie, or is it Birdie and Bridie? Never heard of that. Anyway, I don't know what's going on there. I'd have to assess the situation. Maybe they've just had enough sleep. They might just be a morning person like I am. So yeah, I don't know. I'd probably try putting them to bed at 8. Yeah, if you want to switch the time around. Like my kids both stopped napping at 1-year-old, like regular naps. They had accidental ones, but they didn't nap every single day past the age of 12 months. And they just didn't need a lot of sleep. Some kids just don't need a lot of sleep. I was usually up before it was light out. And so by the time they got up, I'd already been up for a while and I was fine with them getting up. But they did get up early. It was fine with me. My husband and I reprimand our 5-year-old son when necessary. Our son takes everything I say like a joke. However, my husband, he listens to with no problem. How can I get him to give me the same respect as his dad, as does his dad? I don't know. I don't know what's going on there. Are you following through with the consequences? Yeah. If you're reprimanding, is there a consequence? Because a reprimand isn't about words and berating them and nagging them. It's just about, okay, well, you did that wrong. Here's the consequence. So what if he laughs? I'm suggesting he might do that just because it bothers you. See, that wouldn't bother me at all. He can laugh as much as he wants while he vacuums or does something. You know what I mean? Like while he has a consequence, he can laugh all he wants. I never address attitude. There's no point whatsoever. Attitude is the last thing to correct itself, and it corrects itself. It happens organically once you're a leader. You never address attitude. There's no point whatsoever. I can't think of one. The only time I would ever address attitude, when they're being snotty and that, is if they swear or name call. I would address those two things and I would put it on the board and say no name calling or swearing. Okay. And then just have a consequence if they do. So, yeah. But if they just say, I hate you, I just go, whatever. Like, you can't manipulate me. It's laughter is to manipulate usually. I'm going to repeat this. I said it right at the start of this live. It was just something cute one of my clients did. And I always say you want to connect with your kids. Discipline's a tiny part of what I teach. It's mostly about connecting. And this mom, she's just darling. And you guys, all my clients are darling. They're all so young. Anyway, so she said that she looked up silly stuff to do or heard it somewhere. Because I always say, enter their world to connect with them. And so if her kid's getting a little bit moody or something, she can see that she's just, kind of maybe might start to act out or whatever. She said she picks up her kid's foot and starts talking into it like a phone. And it just lightens the mood. So yeah, silly stuff. That was my superpower. I was silly with kids and fun with kids and funny with teenagers. Being fun is your superpower. Okay. What to do when an 8-year-old adamantly refuses to do what you ask? She's in a swim program. I have asked her to finish this particular session and she refuses. Okay. 8-year-old, adamantly, okay. I don't quite know what you mean by that. She's in a swim and I have asked her to finish this particular session and she refused. So she won't finish the session? I don't quite know what you mean by that. So she gets out of the pool? So I'm not quite sure about that. Yeah. You could put that on a behavior board, but it's a sign of the fact she just doesn't respect you. So I'd work on my leadership skills because everyone wants to address each behavior, but your leadership takes care of all the behaviors. So what do I do if they don't do that? What do I do if they do that? Work on your leadership skills and they won't do any of that. You see, you lead, they will follow. Everyone wants to fix their kids. I don't do that. I teach parenting. I teach you how to lead and they will follow. They naturally, instinctively will follow a leader. If you're not a leader at home and you send them out in the world, they're going to be very susceptible to bullying, peer pressure, the drug dealer on the corner, the internet, the Kardashians. You get the idea. They're going to instinctively search out a leader. Yeah. The negative stuff out there in the world has zero power when you're a leader at home. It just does. It's pretty much right through the teen years. Yeah, because they respect you. They look up to you. And you bring out the best in them. They don't respect you out of fear. They respect you because they just feel good about themselves when they're with you. They like you. Okay. Yeah, you said this is the one you said he laughs at you when you discipline. Yeah, it bothers you. Past the age of 3 and 9 months to 4 years old, they only do what works. And if laughing at you gets a reaction that makes him feel more in control, he's going to keep doing it. If they laughed at me, I'd be like, whatever. Like, as long as they're sweeping the floor when they should be, or whatever the discipline is, right? Whatever the consequence. You can laugh all they want. I would say a couple of things that work in those situations are when they have really bad attitude and they're arguing with you, but you've already laid down the law. I love the word whatever. So let's say you got an older kid, especially 5 and over, usually it works with, and they're I hate you, because you've just handed out a consequence, and just turn to them and go whatever, and then just walk away. Or if they say, but I forgot, I didn't understand, blah 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 blah, I'd say, well, you'll know next time, won't you? Like, this is a learning process, right? But you got to stand firm. Once you've laid down a consequence or a discipline, you got to stand by it. But pick them carefully. Be fair and reasonable too. My son was 15 and he says he could never rebel because I was too reasonable and easy to talk to. It's like I didn't know whether to apologize or celebrate. I apologized to him in person, and then I went and celebrated behind his back. He was kind of mad when he said it because all his friends were rebelling and he just couldn't because he had a leader, right? They can't rebel. There's nothing to rebel against when you're a leader. It's kind of impossible to rebel because it just doesn't happen. I better move over. I'm going to go over to Instagram now. If you want to follow me over there, it's Bratbusters Parenting. If not, you can check out the link above. You can get my free behavior board, my mini toddler courses, my big boot camp course. That's from 3 to 12 years old. Or you can look into coaching. Those mini courses are for toddlers. One's tantrums, one's bedtime battles, one is toddlers who hit, bite, etc. And the other one is sugar. What is it? Oh, toddlers who hit. It's very rare that I just roll them all off my tongue. I don't know why. I can't remember them. Anyway, and then the boot camp course goes from 3 to 12 years old. And then if you've got a teenager and you need my help, that would just be coaching. Any age, you can hire me for coaching. But anyway, I got a wait list for coaching. So but yeah, check out the courses. Okay, thanks so much for joining me. And I'm on YouTube the whole time, and I'm hopping over to Instagram. Okay, happy parenting. Bye now. Thank you very much. Libertaria Lombardo. Is that really your name, Libertaria? That's beautiful. Thank you so much, Lisa. My family really appreciates you. You're very welcome. I appreciate the following, by the way. I think 2 weeks ago on Facebook, I hit 200,000. So yeah, that was a big, I don't know where I am now, but anyway, I think it's been 217,000 now or something. But yes, I'm boggled. I'm just absolutely blown away by the following. I would never have predicted this at all. Anyway, I just really appreciate you. Thanks so much. Okay, take care. Bye now. Okay, Instagram. I have to say that out loud because sometimes I hop around to the wrong place. Okay, on YouTube, if you have questions, I answer questions on YouTube also. I don't look down there as much. It's on a different screen because my big followings are Facebook and then Instagram and then TikTok. So I get the most questions on those platforms. That's why I do look down at YouTube, but not as much because these are my busy ones. Hello. Welcome to my live. I'm just looking at the names. My granddaughter right now, she's 5 months. Oh, she's almost 6 months. And they're trying to put her on solids now, and she is not having it. They send videos. It's quite cute. Yeah. They get very good at letting you know when they don't like something too. She doesn't just go like that. Now she's starting to push the spoon away. It's so cute. Okay, so let's get going. Welcome, by the way. And I just want to say thank you so much. I think it was about 2 weeks ago, I hit 400,000 on Instagram, and I'm blown away. I think it's like 425. In the last 2 weeks, I got 25,000 new followers. Why? I don't understand that. I cannot get my head around that. So thanks so much. I do appreciate it. It's not forgotten on me. I don't take it for granted at all. I'm in my 60s. At this age, you don't take anything for granted. I wake up in the morning, I think, oh, good, another day. So UK, Saudi Arabia. I think I've got a client in Saudi Arabia right now, but that's not you. So, or not that name anyway. Okay, so. Okay, my 2-year-old keeps, you're not going to like my answer, by the way. This is Katie here. Hi, my 2-year-old keeps banging his head on the floor when we say no, and I don't know what to do. If they're inclined to do that, someone said on YouTube, is this really live? Yes, this is really live. Okay, so if he's banging his head on the floor, you say no, and then you physically restrain him. If he keeps doing it, buy him a foam helmet. Lots of my clients have done it. Put it on his head, and it goes on. They can't get out of it. It's too hard to pinch to get out of this clip. Evidently, put it on them. They will connect. Say every time you bang your head, you're going to get this foam helmet put on. And they usually stop banging their head pretty quick. They don't like it. So yeah, that's what I suggest, because you want to keep them alive. You don't want them to get a concussion, right? So, okay. When baby is overtired and trying to put to sleep, what's another good idea? Well, I probably don't have any good ideas, like compared to what you've already looked up. Obviously, if they're overtired, but I don't know how old they are. Are they 2 months old or 12 months old? Or yeah, so I don't have a good answer for that. But just look it up. There's other people have way more creative ideas than I do. My kids, back in the old days, they liked the mobile. Anything that was spinning around, it was very like I would just turn them around towards that, and they would get sleepy looking at that. Anything where it was movement. A mobile. Remember those old-fashioned things? Yeah, my kids are all grown. Spain. Hello, Spain. I don't think I have any clients in Spain right now. It's been a while since I've had a client in Spain, I think. I don't always notice where people are from. Anyway, okay. When baby is overtired. Oh, sorry, I already answered. When baby is overtired. Okay, you've got to put down the age, or else I can't answer. I need an age. So I'm going to skip ahead to make sure you're still here. Well, oh gosh, I got a lot of questions here. It's a busy one. I've got like almost 200 in here. And plus you're asking a lot of questions. So I'm just going to do my best, but I do skip ahead because I like to make sure that people are still here while I answer, and make sure that you put an age in there. Serbia. Wow. Serbia. I don't think I've had a client from Serbia. I might have. Oh, behavior boards. What should it look like for a 2.5-year-old? Nothing. It starts at the age of 3. At the age of 3, they develop the ability to stop and think before they act. It's right around 3. Under that, no, they're right in the moment. They don't stop and think. They just do stuff. They might even go like this and smear poop on the wall. They just start thinking before they do stuff. But you can sort of teach them by, it's sort of a knee-jerk reaction kind of way of teaching them. And under the age of 3, right in the moment, if they do something naughty, you use consistent corrective actions. Has to be fast. They have to connect what they did to what you're doing. So let's say they throw a toy, you say no, and you put that toy away. I always use that example because it's an easy one, but you do it with everything. You either remove the fun from them or remove them from the fun just for a minute, but don't do timeout. I hate timeout. I can't stand it. I think it's mean. Yeah, I can't stand it. My daughter is 10 and ready for the sex talk. Advice? Yeah, I started talking to my kids about body and safety and being able to say no to anybody at the age of 3. So yeah, and don't make it the talk. Make it like just little snippets here and there, like it's no big deal. So that when they're teenagers, they'll tell you everything because they're so used to talking to you. Also, 2 things that are really important to remember. Kids could be watching this. How do I word this? Let me think. Okay. Okay, because I'm just worried kids are watching this. I never discussed that unless I also included feelings. And I can't talk about it. And now it's in my head that kids might be on here watching. I don't want to talk about it. Yeah, it comes up a lot in coaching. But yeah, talk to them often, but don't make it a big deal. I've got a really funny story that I only tell in coaching because it's kind of over the top, but a conversation I had with one of my kids once. Oh, I was dying. It was so awful. I will tell you something funny though. Years ago, I used to do a lot of TV and radio when it was like, that was the powerhouse back like almost 20 years ago now. and with my business. So someone phoned in. They used to phone in because I was the parenting expert, right? So they'd phone in asking questions. So someone phoned in and said, what age should kids have sex? And I said, well, there is no age, right? Depends on maturity and who they're with, blah, blah, blah. But I said, but I'll tell you what I told my kids. I said to them, don't have sex until you're 50 because hopefully I'll be dead by then. So, I don't think they waited. But anyway. Can just one parent take your boot camp or do both? No, you don't both have to. Oftentimes when I'm coaching, I'm just working with one parent. Kids only need one leader. And what happens is the other parent follows the lead. So, or else sometimes the other parent is resistant to all this, and that's okay. Do you know how many parents behind the other one's back have hired me after they see the relationship that the parent I'm working with gets with the kids? They'll hire me behind their back because they want that too. They think that this is mean or something, and it's not. It's actually kindness. Children are very drawn to a leader. That's the prized role with all this, with parenting. They're very drawn to that leader. You're the one they're going to tell everything to. So parents often fight over who the leader's going to be. And you can both be leaders, but there's always a strong one. But if you're both leaders, might talk to both of you. But when they're teenagers especially, there's usually one parent they'll tell everything to. And it would be the leader. Okay. Hi from Kyrgyzstan. Is that Kazakhstan? Is that the same? There's a lot of, that's Eastern European countries. I don't know those very well. We had a student living with us. She was from Kazakhstan. Or was she? It was right near Russia, over in the east. Kazakhstan, I think it was. Anyway. Belgium. I've been to Belgium. Best chocolate in the world. Iceland. Hi, Iceland. Croatia. Never been there. I've seen lots of pictures. Beautiful. Looks like Greece because it's really close. Okay. My 4-year-old laughs at me when I discipline her at her level with eye contact. Why are you doing that? Why are you getting down to her level? You don't do that. That's that use your words kind of stuff. When you get down on their level and you look right and you say, okay, here, I don't do that. Yeah, at all. It's like, I hate this phrase. Use your words. It's all that kind of stuff. I don't do that. I just say, oh, you messed up. You broke a rule. Here's the consequence. Don't get down on eye level. And I'd probably laugh at you too if you were squatting down talking to me. It's not necessary. I don't teach that at all. You don't want to know the psychology behind why I don't at all. But anyway, there's a reason I don't. Yeah. That's why she's laughing. It's part of it. It's control too. She's trying to control you because it must bother you. They only do what works, so it must bother you. It wouldn't bother me at all if she laughed at me. Go fine. You can laugh all you want while you wash the windows. Go right ahead. Doesn't bother me. Potty training advice for an almost 3-year-old. Yeah, I have a whole course on that. It's a whole system, and it's a party. I mean, it's a messy party, and it's more for them. It's just you and your kid, and you're potty training over a weekend. I trained my son in 1 day, no pull-ups, no night diapers, nothing. My daughter was fully trained in 2 days. I waited till they were 2.5, so I knew that there wouldn't be, like, it'd be easy. Plus, I was already kind of a leader. If you're not a leader, and they just kind of did what I said, but if you're not a leader, it's a good way to start exercising some leadership skills too, because it's a whole system, and it's based on fun. It's based on fun. If they have an accident, you just say, oh, well, I pee on the floor sometimes too, and you clean it up. No shame. I do want to know the psychology behind it. It almost makes it look like you're turning it into an event. It makes it look like you're turning it into a therapy session. You're right down on their level, eye to eye, and you're turning it into way too serious, way too big a deal. Just say you broke a rule. Here's the consequence. Done. Short and sweet. I guarantee you're talking too much. If you're on her level and getting eye contact, I guarantee you're talking too much. That's the pleaser parent style stuff. You know I don't do that at all. I'm a leader. I don't try and please them all the time, right? I just do what I need to do. God, I could go on about that one. I love the psychology behind everything I do. I love it, but I don't bother people with it. But I do get a child psychologist as clients, and they want to know the psychology. And then I love it. I just love talking about it. Okay, the good consequences, just look at the behavior board. It's completely free. Don't get caught up in what the consequence is. Just have one or have 2 for the kids. You'll see. But yeah, it's not about the consequence. There is no perfect consequence. It's like if you want to lose weight, what's the perfect food to lose weight? No, it's a whole process. It's a whole method. So yeah, don't get caught up in what the consequence is. It really doesn't matter. It's just a chore. Could just be anything. And so what if they like doing it? It's still a consequence. It's still a good deed. But sometimes I like to make it harder too, something they don't like. It's better if it's something they don't like, but they don't have to hate it. Oh, my almost 11-year-old still has accidents every now and then. She'll be disciplined. Never, 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 never discipline around bodily functions, ever. No, I don't know what to do there. She's still having accidents. I would have to look into that. You'd have to hire me for that. I don't know if you want a full coach. I only do 6-session coaching sessions, coaching packages. I don't know if you'd need that. But anyway, so yeah, there's no way I would discipline for a bodily function. You don't want to shame her. And it's not naughty. It's sort of, yeah, you never want to shame a child for that. Okay. This is on YouTube from Margaret. I'm struggling with screen time with my almost 13-year-old boy. I'm having a hard time coming up with the right amount of time. I also want to help him manage his own time. Doesn't seem possible. I do have a lot of videos on that. Media management is what I call it. And there's 3 different ways of managing it. 2 I don't like. They're okay, but I don't like them. The third one is the one I like, especially as they're older. This is 5 and up. Anyway, the first 2 are you have a certain allotted amount of time every single day they can have screen time, or you have a certain block of time every night, like 7 to 8 or whatever it is. I don't like either one of those. You're sort of in charge of that, and I don't like that. I like them to learn how to manage themselves. Like that's why I never disciplined my kids. They were self-disciplining, self-managing. They just learned, right? I gave them responsibility, and if they didn't follow through, then I would come in and have a consequence or something. But anyway, they just learned how to manage stuff themselves. This is the one I do like. You have an allotted hours per week and let them decide when it is. They might binge and use it all up by Wednesday, and then they've got no media time Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. That is one hell of an awful 4-day period of time, but what a great lesson. You think they've learned something in that time? You bet they have. Also, you keep track of all the minutes. So you're the timekeeper, but you're not telling them when to go on. But it can't be like 2 in the morning. It has to be a reasonable amount, like time period, right? So yeah, that's what I recommend. There are exceptions in some things I say, like in coaching. Sometimes, I've got all these blanket statements, all these black and white answers when I'm doing these lives. But in coaching, sometimes I have to make some exceptions depending on what's going on, especially when I get people from other foreign lands and they have cultures where the dad is the head of the house. There's no freaking way he would be on a behavior board. You think I'm going to tell a man who's the head of the house who's not accountable to be on a behavior board? How disrespectful to his culture, right? I have to respect his culture and say, okay, so you're not on the behavior board, but can I ask you to play with the kids for at least 15 minutes every single day? That's how I address that. That would go on the behavior board, but if he doesn't want to be on it, I just say, can you do that? And there's no consequence if he doesn't. So I pull him in, but I have to do that respecting a different culture, because I do. I mean, how stupid if I thought everyone should be doing it exactly the way our culture runs, right? It's disrespectful. Also, there's a lot of sometimes religious constraints. And it's just fascinating to me because I learned so much about different cultures, different religions. And like, I know a lot about like the Jewish religion. I knew nothing about it until I started coaching. And I've learned a lot of stuff just because, I get a lot of Jewish clients, right? So yeah, it's fascinating. Love to hear how people live. When do I start increasing the time between the time I take my toddler to the toilet? Have you done the course, the potty training course? Sort of goes into that follow-up, like how you follow through afterwards. So I can't answer that unless like it's a whole, you know what I mean? Yeah. But I'll tell you a funny story. Oh, this, before I go on, Micah, I just purchased the boot camp course. Is it lifetime access? I always say the same thing. It doesn't expire unless I do. And even if after I do, it should still be going. There should still be my daughter's in charge. Like she's sort of, is my partner in the business. So it doesn't expire unless I do. So I don't quite know how to answer that. But yeah, right now there's no expiry date. Okay, what was I talking about? Sugar. Oh, the funny story. Anyway, my son had just been potty trained. So he would have been 2.5. And he was doing really well. I did all the right things. I took the porta potty everywhere we went. I never gave him anything to drink or anything right before we went out. And he had no pull-ups. So I don't use pull-ups or anything. Anyway, we're in the checkout at the supermarket, and he's 2.5, and I've got all the groceries going along the conveyor belt. And he says, I have to poo. And I got eye contact with the checkout woman. We just both looked at each other like this. Obviously, she's a mother. So I said, can you just wait till, and he goes, and he's 2.5. He goes, I have to go poo now. When a 2.5-year-old says I have to poo, they're not saying in about 20 minutes. It's probably crowning, if you know what I'm saying. Sorry about that visual. But anyway, so the woman just said to me, she goes, I'll look after everything. Just take him. Now, this is in Australia where we were living for 20 years. And the supermarkets are not freestanding buildings there. They're inside malls. So you enter the supermarket inside the mall, which means they don't have their own bathrooms. You have to go to the mall bathroom, which was at the other end of this. It was at the other end of this mall. It was Kmart Plaza in Arana Hills, if you know the area at all. Anyway, so you know where the bathrooms are. So I picked him up, held his butt, and ran with him down the mall. And plus, I hate public toilets. I didn't have time to line the seat or disinfect it or anything. And I ripped down his pants, hung him over the toilet, and I just made it. He did poop in the toilet. So, it was just awful. I thought, yeah, this is motherhood, right? There's no dignity, no class, running, holding a kid's butt right through the mall. But he made it. Could very well have gone the other way. Anyway, I came back. There was another mom there that was helping the checkout lady, and they were just so lovely. I was a regular there, and they knew me. So anyway, yep, parenting, not a classy thing. Oh, I don't want to put no screen time as a consequence on the behavior board. Any other thing? So it's not appropriate. Well, it can be anything that they do every single day that they enjoy, but never take away love or social stuff. Like if they're going to play with their friends, you don't take that away. But if they have something, and also you don't take reading to them in bed away. You don't take a plushie that they sleep with away. So yeah, there's usually some toy or some activity that they really like every single day. If you can't take it away, you can lessen the time. So say normal, like one family right now, they have a pool and their kids love going in the pool every single day. And I said, they don't use screens. So I said, instead of media blackout as the second consequence, they get half the time in the pool. And then you do it at the start, not at the end. So anyway, that's what they're doing. Well, I don't know how it's gone yet. They just started doing it. So yeah, you can minimize the time to do something fun. Cause I would never take the whole pool, the whole swim away from a kid because it's healthy and right. But you can like limit when they go in. Yeah, I'm sure I'll hear about that one. What is the first consequence? The first consequence is usually just a chore. The first consequence is a positive action, and it goes something like this. Do a chore within 15 minutes of being asked to do so. And you can pick the chore. Say, I want you to wash that one window. They've got 15 minutes to do it, but make the chore about 2 minutes. It's not a big deal. If they won't do that, then you do the negative deprivation. You take something away, like media blackout or something for 24 hours. But when they're doing that first chore, parents do this all the time. In coaching, I go into a lot more detail in coaching, obviously, but when you first hand out that first consequence and you say, I want you to wash that window within 15 minutes, and they say no and they run in the other room, this is you. You're just standing there looking at the time. 10 minutes left. I don't even care if they can hear you. You're just timekeeping. But you're right there. You're on top of it. 5 minutes left. And then the buzzer goes off on your watch because you're timing it or wherever your phone or whatever. They hear it. They come running. Fine, I'll do it. And you say, well, you don't have to. Media blackout started 1 minute ago. They didn't do it in the 15 minutes allotted to them. So they think they can manipulate you and then come in later and do it. Are you kidding me? No way. Media blackouts. And then they'll still sometimes wash the window. No, I'm doing it. I'm doing it. Say, well, thanks for that. But you didn't have to because media blackout started 3 minutes ago. When you said something, follow through. You got 15 minutes to do the chore. If it's not done, media blackout starts right after for 24 hours. No anger, just it's a matter of fact. Not fair. I didn't understand. Well, you'll know next time, won't you? I hate you. I hate you. Whatever. Yeah, just calm. There's no, all disciplining should be done like a business transaction. There are no emotions whatsoever that are appropriate when you're disciplining a child. It's like a business transaction. and the chore is a consequence for a misbehavior, yeah. Don't worry about making chores fun or making chores, don't worry about making chores negative. Most chores are negative anyway. Don't get caught up in that stuff. A lot of parents do. But that's the pleaser parent style. But we want chores to be not a horrible thing. Well, don't worry about it. You just killed the loophole my kids always use on me. That I'll do it now. That one? Yeah. Yeah. It's a good one. One kid, what did they do? I think they were washing a window. Oh, no, they were supposed to sweep something. They're supposed to sweep the kitchen. So they went running after the 15 minutes is up, and they were already told 24-hour media blackout. No, I'm going to do it now. And they swept the kitchen. The parent had said, you don't have to because you're still going to get 24-hour media blackout. They still were convinced the parents were going to give in because they knew their parents used to give in, right? So in the past, not now. So they finished sweeping, and then they're holding the dustpan full of all the dirt. See, I did it. Whew, no 24-hour media blackout. The parent said, yeah, it started 5 minutes ago, and it's still happening. The kid went like that and dumped all the dirt in the floor. And I would just go, alrighty then. And then I would clean it up. Because they're already in that 24-hour media blackout. Whatever they do in that time is on them. Just go, well, that's why you got 24-hour media blackout. So yeah, you just got to go through it. Like even when they dump that on the floor and then they storm off, I would clean it up. And just say, alrighty then. What do you do when the kid is insulting you? You mean when you've handed out a discipline? You just go, whatever, and walk away. That's in the attitude department. You've taught them that, by the way. Attitude is, they're not born with attitude. You've taught them that. So yeah, just go, whatever, and walk away. Alrighty then, and walk away. Yeah, means nothing to me. Attitude is the very last thing to change. It happens as soon as you're a leader, attitude disappears. Kids never have an attitude with a leader. They just don't. It just doesn't happen. Do teens go on the behavior board too? Oh yes, teenagers, just not under the age of 3. Mom, dad, everyone's on the behavior board that's 3 and over, everybody. God, I could tell you some funny stories about my clients. I just don't have time right now. Like, oh my God, some of them put the hilarious stuff for the parents. Yeah. Like just annoying habits that certain parents have. Like I think one dad, what was it? Sucked his teeth like after dinner and he wasn't allowed to do that anymore. And they ended up having a blast. Like it's supposed to be fun too. It's not just all negative. How do you bond relationships when you're not a leader? Okay. Play with them. Fun is their love language. Play with them. Get silly with them. Like that client I was talking about earlier. She just looked up silly stuff to do with kids. And when her kid's a little bit cranky or they're not getting along, she says, I hear a ringing. I hear the phone ringing. She picks up the kid's foot and starts talking into it. Kids love that stuff. Have fun. Be silly. Enter their world. You don't play canasta with them. You roll on the floor with them. Laugh. Giggle. That's how you start the bonding. Bonding, like leadership is about connection and bonding. The discipline is a tiny part of this. It's so little. It's unreal. It's more about connecting and bonding with your kids. That's what connects. That's what makes them listen. That's what makes you a leader. Their love language is fun. I know a few people have asked me when I was working with kids, especially the troubled teens, they said, how do you get respect with these kids? And I said, well, my superpower is with young children, I'm fun. And with big kids and teenagers, I'm funny. I use humor. I keep it light. Just have fun. Keep it light. And also don't leverage the good times to talk about the bad times. A lot of parents of teenagers make this mistake. A good example of this is, let's say that you've got a teenager, you've just been at war. All of a sudden, I've taught you how to start connecting with your teenager. And then when you're playing a game with them or something and you're having fun for the first time, and it could be years, and then you say, I just want to let you know I really appreciate this time that we're having right now because the last 2 years with you have been hell. Parents do that all the time. They leverage the good times to talk about the bad, to get stuff off their chest. You think that teenager's not going to tell you to F off and get lost? And they can't figure out why. We were just having fun. They told me to F off. Yeah, that's because you told them they were rotten for the last 2 years. you leverage that. They started to become vulnerable with you and let their guard down. Then you went in for the kill. It's called passive aggressive. Anyway, yeah, it frustrates the hell out of me because I work so hard to get that connection going with, especially when they're in crisis with troubled teenagers. And then they go and do that. They go and wreck it. And I've told them not to, and they still do it sometimes. They just can't help themselves. I get it. They're in pain. They're resentful towards what their kids have put them through. I get it. Yeah, I'd like to write a book one day. I asked my daughter, she does all the planning for our business. And I asked her, can I write a book? No, Mom, now's not the right time. We've got other stuff we're working on. Okay. Someone asked her, they said, oh, so your mom's your boss? And she said, Mom always says it's the other way around. She does the planning. It is my business, obviously. She's a partner in it, but it is my stuff. But she does all the planning. So she told me I can't write a book. Not yet. Definitely down the road we will. I do have something we're working on right now, though. It was her idea, of course, but I totally get why we're doing that instead of a book right now. You'll see. It'll come out soon. And don't ask me about other books because I've never read a book on kids or parenting. I only teach what I know. I only teach through my own experience. I've never looked at what anyone else does. I am very careful about that. And yeah, sometimes I don't tend to do a lot of interviews anymore because people always want to ask me. They say, well, what do you think about so-and-so? And I say, well, I don't know them. And even if I did, I'm not going to critique other people who are teaching parenting. It's like critiquing, if let's say you're teaching dieting or fitness, I'm not going to critique other people who are doing it. They have their method, their path, and it might work very well, but I only teach mine. I invented all this, so I teach what I know, what I have experience with, right? So yeah, I'm not going to critique other people. But I do critique the old-fashioned authority-style parenting and the newfangled pleaser parent. There is a whole bunch of stuff underneath that, but I don't target anyone specifically or anything. Why would I? Okay, I got to move over to TikTok now. If you want, and by the way, I just want to say thank you so much. I hit 400,000 2 weeks ago on here, and it's just grown a lot since then. Even I don't know how many I've got now, but 425,000 in 2 weeks. I gained about 25,000 followers. I don't know why. I don't get it. I honestly don't get it. I remember I first started going on social media like regularly 2 years ago, and it was on TikTok. And my daughter told me to go on there. And she said, Mom, you got to go on TikTok. It's for you. And I've just loved it because you want to share what you're passionate about. But if you don't have a huge audience, it's not fun. Like if you're only talking to 2 people, most of my business prior to this was word of mouth and referrals from doctors and schools and that. But yeah, now it's through online stuff now. So, but anyway, I just want to say I'm very grateful. I don't take it for granted. And it's your time that you're putting into listening to me. And I'm very grateful for that. I'm doing the best I can to try and give you value for your time because I value it. So anyway, thanks so much for joining me. I'm hopping over to TikTok. Check out the link above. You can get my free behavior board, my mini toddler courses, my big boot camp course, or you can look into coaching. Happy parenting. A bunch of people bailed because I know they're hopping over to TikTok. Okay. Oh, is it okay to say no first? So a kid does something naughty and you say no. They already know they shouldn't be doing that. I take action. I don't give the warnings. The warning, when you give a child a warning, they've just done something naughty and you say, no, if you do that again, that kind of thing, they've just learned it's okay to be naughty sometimes, just not all the time. So it's a mixed message. I don't say, you can say no and then you take action. Just no just sort of shows you're coming in. But yeah, don't say no and then let it, and then not take action. And toddlers are all about actions. They're not about words. But the word no just starts the ball rolling. That's all. And there's nothing wrong with the word no. Someone said, how do I discipline children without using the word no? And I'm like, I don't think my channel is for you at all. If you never want to use the word no, if that's the pleaser parent style, oh, I don't want them to ever say no. A lot of the world says no to them. You got to get them used to this. And if they're well-behaved, they'll never hear the word no. That's what they learn. Like my kids never heard the word no because they never needed it, right? So they just learn. That's how you never say the word no. You be a leader and they'll never challenge you on anything. You don't have to say no. Like my kids, I often say this, my kids never asked me anything if they knew the answer would be no. Why would they? Because they knew I was 100% predictable. 100%. They knew if they'd asked me something, then I would have I probably wouldn't even have said no. I would have gone, what, are you kidding me with this? Like, can we go eat ice cream on the couch or something? Are you kidding me? That goes at the table. Food is at the table. Like, they just would never have asked. So, yeah. Okay, so let's get going with your questions. I'm now on TikTok. If you want to look at the link above, you can see my free behavior board, my mini toddler courses, my big boot camp course, or you can look into coaching. I do have a wait list for coaching. I meant to take more people on this week, but I just got so hectic. So hopefully this weekend I'll be able to take hopefully 2 or 3 new clients on. And I do take them in order, but I'm looking for certain ages. So sometimes there's only one client who's tried to sign up to coaching and they had the age I want. So even if you want, put the intake form in today, if you've got the age I'm looking for, I never tell people ahead of time what that is. Okay. My 2-year-old, this is just a bit of a poop show here. My 2-year-old refuses to use her words when she wants something and throws a tantrum and I give in. Ooh, she refuses to use her words. She can still communicate what she wants. She can point to it. She's just reacting to the word no. Okay. Toddlers and all children, all people basically, don't give a hoot if you understand them. They just want what they want. So it doesn't matter if she's using her words or not. It has nothing to do with it. All she wants is what she wants. So don't get caught up in that. They never have a tantrum because they feel misunderstood. Misunderstood. That's ridiculous. If they get what they want, they could care less if you understand them or not. Okay? They just want what they want when they want it and how they want it. That's all. They could care less if you understand them. Guaranteed. Yeah, toddler never has a tantrum because I feel misunderstood. It's always, I didn't get what I wanted. Right? Yeah. Okay, I have a 17-year-old being very defiant, turning off location on his phone, not coming home when told. Okay, that would be coaching. That's all that is. And we wouldn't even deal with that in the first week or 2. We work on your connection and your communication skills with your teenager. I'm going to read out I haven't read this in ages. Actually, teenagers are my favorite age. I started my business doing crisis work with teenagers, and I understand them and I know how to talk to them. And that's what I teach you. Once you start to get that communication and more respect going, then we could deal with that phone issue. Okay, now, and there's no freaking way that there would be no location on that kid's phone. But that would be my goal with you by the end of it. Okay, now, I shouldn't guarantee anything, but that would be my goal. I work up a sweat when I'm coaching sometimes. If things aren't going well, the parents are struggling, especially teenage stuff, because they're so unpredictable and the results are, they're 50-50 sometimes. If the kids are really older and really defiant, it's hard. But I can certainly teach you to understand what's going on and hopefully move forward. Anyway, these are the 4 stages of parenting. Number 1, this is for you. Your parenting changes, okay, throughout these years. The first stage you go through as a parent is with babies, 0 to 15 months old. It's all meet their needs and meet their wants. You're starting to say no, but never to make them cry. So if they do something, you just go, no. You want them to go like this and look at you. You don't want them to cry. Okay, so you're starting to teach them right from wrong. Okay, and they can pick up on this from their very young age. Number 2 is the toddler stage. This is when you go into more disciplining. So their toddlers are 15 or 16 months to 35 months. Okay, that's when they know right from wrong, and they usually do. They're starting to pick up on. They know they shouldn't hit and all that stuff. But then you have consistent corrective actions. You are starting to discipline the bad behavior, and you also play with them. You play with them all the way through. But play is their love language. You mix it up with a lot of play. And then you go into the 3rd stage of parenting. That's the child stage. That's the easiest stage. 3 to 12 years old. You're at the height of your leadership skills in that age group. 3 to 12, that's why my boot camp course goes from 3 to 12 years old. Their behavior is 100% a direct result of your parenting in that age, 3 to 12 years old. So then it's kind of easy street at this point when you're a good leader. They just look up to you. They want to please you. Okay, that's how it goes because you're like their mentor. They like you. They have fun with you. It's just like this lovely relationship. Then you go into the 4th stage. This is the teen stage. it's not that teenagers are difficult. It's just parents don't know how to adjust to the teen stage. They're becoming more their own leaders. Okay. You don't micromanage a teenager. I'm going to read out the 4 tips for parenting teenagers. It was 3, but I added 1. Okay. These are my top 4 tips for parenting teenagers. Number 1 is you listen to understand and show empathy. You don't listen to gather information to lecture with, or they will shut you out. And if they want your advice, they'll ask for it. By the way, they already know it. Okay. Number 2 is you negotiate pretty much everything. It's not a blanket statement, but it goes something like this. Hey, I want your dirty clothes in the hamper from now on. What do you want from me? Negotiate. Hey, I don't want to keep a clean room. Okay, fine. So long as your dirty clothes go in the hamper. You see, negotiate. Number 3, this is the one I added. Don't leverage the good times to discuss the bad times. When you do start to connect with your teenager, they start to open up and let drop their defenses with you because you're starting to become a leader and you're starting to respect them more. Don't use those times to start talking about what they put you through in the last couple of years. You wouldn't believe how many of my clients do that. And then they can't figure out why their teenager tells them to F off and goes and locks themselves in their room. And I'm like, yeah, of course they're gonna, right? You just hurt their feelings. You just disrespected them. Okay, so don't leverage the good times to discuss the bad times. Just have a good time with them, play their video games with them, and then just leave it at that. Number 4, don't sweat the small stuff with teenagers. If they do something stupid and it's not a big deal, just say, well, that was stupid. Do you want to hear what I did when I was your age? Or do you want to hear what I did today? We all do dumb things. There's nothing wrong with that. Okay. So allow them to be human, just like you are. So yeah, those are my top 4 tips for parenting teenagers. Teenagers are notoriously the worst age only because parents don't adjust their parenting to adjust to teenagers. It's my favorite age by far. Although I do like newborns too. Newborns and teenagers probably. But newborns so quick. Teenagers go on for years. Okay. So I'm just looking at YouTube. Lots of people sharing it is helpful. Yeah, I really appreciate that. And I know that oftentimes, like I went through a whole rodeo, I swear, down in Texas or somewhere. It wasn't Texas, it was some other state near there. Anyway, what had happened was someone they were in a rodeo, and then their friends were saying, how come you're having so much more fun with your kids? And they said, oh, we hired this woman. So I got all these rodeo people. And boy, oh boy, do they all like wrestling with their kids. And I don't recommend it. But if it's working, I don't fight stuff. Like that's a cultural thing, right? So I don't fight it. And so I say, okay, well, let's work it, and discuss good wrestling. And you don't go and wrestle your teacher, right, at school. But anyway, so I went through, it was really funny. I went through and their accents were I love the Southern accent. So I went through like a whole rodeo. And then on another one I went through a whole bunch of Latter-day Saints, which used to be called Mormon religion, but now they're Latter-day Saints, whole bunch of them. So, and then I get families. The problem with that is that I often give different advice to all these people dependent on, I get to know them, right? It's personalized. Coaching is one-on-one, personalized. Anyway, then they'll compare notes and they'll say, did you get the same Lisa I got? Because the advice is quite different. But then I always say, don't compare because, I give different advice depending on you and what you're going through. But yeah, it's quite fun. But that rodeo, oh my God, what an interesting culture. I just loved it. I loved it. I asked a lot of questions about their lifestyle, and that was fascinating. How to be a good leader for a 3-year-old boy. Check out the boot camp course, which goes from 3 to 12 years old. It's not a 1-sentence answer. It takes 5 weeks and it's tons and tons of videos and written stuff. It's a whole process. You got to learn how to be a leader. Basically, you give respect to get it. I would say to sum it up, look at the very first video on TikTok and it's called Example of Leadership Parenting. It's my pool story. It exactly explains the way I look at leadership. It's you address the bad behavior, get it done like a business transaction, and then you focus on the good kid. Where you put your focus, where you put your energy is what grows. That's why I focus on having fun with kids and making them like themselves. I used to work with troubled teens, and one of them said, or actually a couple said this to me, but the first time I heard this was a teenager said, I didn't like myself until I met you. That is a leader. You're not making them feel bad or ashamed of the things they've done. You're bringing out the best in them, and you're bonding with them. You're connecting with them. And you want them to like themselves. That is your goal as a leader, that they like themselves. Children who are acting out have very low self-esteem. I want them to like themselves and have high self-esteem. When they have high self-esteem and they like themselves around me, how are they going to treat me? Like gold. I become a mentor, like a leader, right? That's the power in all this. It's not the discipline. You do it, but that's not the power here. The power is raising their self-esteem and making them like themselves. That is your power. Anyway, the boot camp course tells you how to do all that. You have really sound advice. Do you have experience with behavioral analysis? No. I have no formal training. Thank God. I always disagreed with. Every time I tried to take a course, I disagreed with it. So, I'm rogue. I let kids teach me all this. I figured them out by studying them and working with them. So yeah, anytime I've tried to take any formal training with any of this, I just disagreed with it all. I did get some training in that I had to go into homes through the government to work with parents who were struggling. But I never used it. I always had my own style. Nothing wrong with that training, but none of it suited me. I knew what I was doing and what worked for me with kids. So that's what I did. Yeah. I've actually been kicked out of, I was kicked out of course. I was going to be a child psychologist and they kicked me out because I asked too many questions. Yeah. And then the other students started asking me questions about kids. So yeah, they couldn't get rid of me. What I should have done was held out and they would have paid me double. But they just gave me a refund on my course. Yeah, I don't fit into that stuff. Not to say it's wrong, it's just not for me, right? University of Life, yeah. And it works in this, like you can't become a surgeon in the University of Life, but there's certain things because it is people-oriented and people are very complex and it's heavily experience-based. I always say, if you're going to take parenting advice from someone, I would look for these two qualifications. They have to have finished the job with their own kids. In other words, have they lived with teenagers? And what are their young adults like? What are they functioning? Are they, robbing liquor stores? Like they have to have finished the job with their own kids. Plus, I didn't learn a lot with my own kids. I got respect when they were little, sailed right through the teen years. So they have to have had experience with hundreds of other kids with every challenge you can think of. I've worked in hospitals with disabled children who were born addicted to drugs, troubled teenagers, toddlers with all sorts of ASD and whatever you could think of. So, it's experience-based. It really, I believe it is. It's huge. And a bunch of my clients have child development degrees, teachers, principals, child psychologists. They identify that parenting is personal. It's different. It's a real specialty. I couldn't do their jobs, by the way. I get asked to go into a lot of schools and talk to teachers about how to handle difficult kids. I wouldn't have a clue. I have no idea how to teach. Talk about respect. I respect teachers so much. They're looking after our children for us. They are, I have a lot of respect for teachers. What a tough job. I felt like I was ranting on about nothing. Anyway, I like to provide value here. Sorry if I was ranting. Okay. So I'm just reading questions on YouTube also. How to raise their self-esteem. Guide them into making good choices. When you take care of the bad behavior, get it over and done with, and then you look at the pool story. I don't know where it is on YouTube, but it's on TikTok and Instagram. It's the very first video on my page. And it's called Example of Leadership Parenting, and it's the pool story. God, do I have the energy to tell that story? I've told it thousands of times. I don't know if I can tell it again. I've told it so many times. That one video, though, is, I just hit every point perfectly. I've told it lots of times. I got lots of videos on the pool story, but that one video, I hit every point. That's why that one I pinned. But it explains leadership parenting. You deal with bad behavior, then you focus on the good kid. You build them up. And plus, a lot of parents make this mistake. They focus on what the kids are good at or what they think they should be good at to build them up with. I'll tell you what I mean by that. Is they'll build them up when they get good grades. School might not be part of their self-esteem. They might not take pride in it. That's not going to increase their self-esteem. Some kids could care less how they do in school. You build them up by something that they take pride in. There's a difference, not necessarily something they're good at. You build them up with stuff that they take pride in. That is where the self-esteem comes from. Think about it. Oh, you're wonderful at school. If they don't care about school and they just happen to be smart and go and find it easy, that's not going to increase their self-esteem at all. They don't care about it. Oh, I'm a parenting coach, so I think you're in the wrong place. Sometimes people think I'm a psychic or so, yeah. Unconditional love will boost self-esteem. No, no, uh, no. Oh, geez, do I want to go on about this? No, not at all. Let's say they're treating their parents like crap and their parents have unconditional love towards them. That kid's self-esteem is in the toilet, guaranteed, 100%. Self-esteem comes from how you treat people, how you act, what you do, what you say. That's where self-esteem, it's how you feel about yourself, not how others feel about you. Yeah, so that. I totally disagree with that. Totally. And I know it's a common thread out there, and I could be wrong, but I don't think so. Like, I disagree with it. Doesn't mean it's wrong. I do not agree with it at all. Yeah. What do you think of private schools? I have no opinion on that. I have no opinion on breastfeeding till they're 8 years old, co-sleeping, Montessori, private schools, homeschooling, religion. Those are all personal choices. They have nothing to do with me. Like, that's your personal choice. Yeah, I honestly have no opinion on it. I personally would never homeschool. I would be lousy at it. But a lot of parents love it and it works really well. That's the only one that I don't have advice on it so much, but just a common thread that I've seen kind of could be a little bit of a problem down the road is most homeschool kids, they have a wonderful community, by the way. They get together with other homeschool families and that. It's a wonderful community, but it actually is quite sequestered. So when they go out in the real world or go out to high school, like let's say a public high school, lots of teenagers have said to me, I can spot a homeschooled kid a mile away. They have different social skills. They don't quite fit in, and they often find it difficult. They often find socializing in the real world more challenging. So what I suggest with parents who homeschool, make sure that you socialize your kids with other kids who aren't homeschooled so that they have more of a mix. That's the only advice I have with that. Someone said, is this live? That's Maya Jean. Yeah, I think I just proved this is live. It is live. Yeah. You can't always tell on YouTube, especially because I've only got like 12,000 followers on there, and I've got hundreds of thousands on the other ones. And so I get the most questions on the other platforms. That's why I don't usually look at YouTube. I do have questions here, but I got millions of them flying through on the other one. That's why I tend to, and I'm on TikTok. I have to admit, I've got a bit of favoritism towards TikTok. That's where I blew up online, was on TikTok. That was, yeah. I just turned up on TikTok, and within a few months, I had tons of followers. I couldn't believe it. So yeah, I have kind of a soft spot for TikTok. You've heard this story before. Yeah, the pool story. Yeah. Don't ask me about spanking kids. You know, it's ridiculous. My middle child always wants the attention. What can we do about it? If there's and there's this thing, I just wrote it down. Kids rarely fight when they have a leader as a parent. They don't claim favoritism. They don't claim unfairness or anything. When you're a leader, they know you're taking care of business. They don't tend to ask to be singled out because they know that you're fair and reasonable. I remember once, now I already had a really healthy relationship with my kids when they both asked this. At certain times, they both said this, and I guess they would have heard a friend say it. And they said, what was it? Oh, he's your favorite or something. And because I already had such, I would never recommend this unless you have a really, I'm very sarcastic and my kids were so used to me. So when she said that, oh, he's your favorite, I looked at her and I said, of course he is. I've always loved him way more than I could ever love you. And her response was, oh, never mind. And then my son said the same thing. Oh, she's your favorite. Absolutely. I've always loved her more than I love you. So I never get pulled into that stuff. I never recommend doing that unless they know that they are not favored. Okay. And a leader never favors. And they just pick up on that energy. So I wouldn't feed that. And it's not a middle child thing. It's often the youngest one or the oldest one. It's not always the middle child. I don't want to go into all that, but yeah, I haven't seen a real consistency with that. But yeah, just make sure that you're a leader and that you're fair and reasonable. And if they say something like that, you're always, and say, that's ridiculous. Of course I don't, and then they'll just get over it. So don't feed it. If they always want the attention, don't feed it. So long as you know you're a leader and you are fair and reasonable. If you're not, sometimes you're not. Sometimes I often identify that with parents, and they'll say, oh, they always feel that the other one's getting better treatment. And they say that's because the other one doesn't cause any problems. And I'm like, yeah, they're picking up on that. So we've got to, Yeah, that's kind of tricky. We have to adjust things and even things out a bit more, because often you do tend to favor the easiest ones just because they're easier. Doesn't mean you love them more, but you like being around them more. So yeah, often it's often the squeaky wheel that gets oiled, but also the one that drives you nuts, and they pick up on that. So you got to be careful with that. There's ways around that, but that's more coaching actually. That's because every family is so completely different. But oftentimes they'll say, "Oh, he's just so difficult." And I'll say, "Well, the story you just told me sounds like the other one is the difficult one." Often it's the easy one who's antagonizing the high-spirited, highly sensitive, highly emotional one that is very reactive. So they're reacting to that easy child who always seems so calm, always seems so easy. And then you got the other one throwing stuff at them because all they've done is looked at the other one like this or something. So it's often difficult to tell. That's what people hire me for, is like, what's going on here? And I'll say, yeah, you watch that next time, or put a hidden camera somewhere and you watch what happens when that other one hits. Because sometimes they'll say something, they'll say, that doesn't sound right to me. I'll bet it's the other one causing it. And I always, you punish the instigator, not the retaliator. You're not condoning the retaliation, but you always punish the instigator. And it can be subtle. Oh my God, you just explained like two kids to a T. Yeah. And it's tough because there often is an easier kid and a more difficult one, but you got to learn how to balance stuff out. Okay. It's kind of tricky, and it's not something I talk about. I don't generalize with that because I need to know the family. I need to understand what's going on first before I can offer any advice. Okay, so how do you work with them tattling on each other? First of all, do you work with parents of teens? I specialize in teenagers. I started my business with teen crisis work. So yeah, that's my favorite age to work with because I actually have to really put my thinking cap on, especially crisis work. So yeah, I do work with teenagers. I don't work with teenagers anymore. I work with parents of teenagers. How do you work on them tattling on each other? Well, you got to decide whether or not it's validated. And I would say to kids, I'll tell you something. I don't want to hear any complaints about the other one unless there's blood spurting out of an artery or a bone jutting out of the skin. So in other words, don't bother me with all that stuff unless there's something serious. But oftentimes you've got to read the room. Are they validated? Is the other one really annoying, but you just don't see it? You got to sometimes put on your real thinking cap and think and watch them. And you got to figure out why did they do that? Or did they? Also, if you think they're lying, put down no lying on the behavior board. And if you catch them in a lie, have a consequence for that too. But anyway, okay, I got to get going. Thanks so much for joining me. I just want to thank you for all your support. I really do appreciate it. I hit 1.3 million last week across all my platforms. I can't even imagine that many people. Anyway, I just want to say I really do appreciate it because I put a lot into this, and that it's really nice when you have an audience that takes it in, because this is my passion. I love my work. I absolutely love it. And I know I'm here helping parents because I get emails every single day. And that's why I'm here. You know what I want from you or for you? I don't want you to raise good kids. That's part of it. I want you to have fun. I want you to enjoy parenting. I want you to say, that was the best time of my life. It was the most fun I ever had in my life, was raising my kids. I loved it. I wallowed in it. I had a blast. And that's what I want for you. I don't want you to just raise good kids. That's kind of boring. It's good, but that's kind of boring. I want you to have fun. So that's always my goal. Anyway, thanks so much for joining me. I'll be back again, hopefully tomorrow. And anyway, check out the link above. You can get my free behavior board, my mini toddler courses, my big boot camp course, or you can look into coaching. Happy parenting. Bye now.